About the opening scene, this one is really unsual for revenge. Not only the pop song with lyrics which we only had at the end of episodes in significant moments, like when they showed us in season 1 how Emily took her targets down, or when she shared her first night with Daniel. Then we had the 2 songs for the flashbacks when Emily remembered the time with her father in the beach time. My favorite song they used twice. First for the flashback in which Vctoria stole David's computer, and later when Emily is painting and remembers her treatment as a little girl by Dr. Michelle Banks. And who can forget the iconic Florence and the Machine song from the first finale when Vctoria was boarding that plane and Charlotte committed suicide. In season 3 we had Nico finding her father's sword in Aidan's room and Patrick torching the gallery. And of course Vctoria after Pascal's death. And at the beginning of this season when Charlotte tried to kill her. The whole scene seems to be from another show. I mean this coloring we know from the beach house scenes, but this choreographed camera drive over their clothes on the floor to the bed. It is so stereotype like the pillow talk of the two. Maybe I am judgmental here, but the lyrics seems a bit too depressing to make us believe their relationship would be long this happy. About Victoria's side war. This little side plot was really annoying. And you can feel that they tried desperately to keep Vctoria occupied long enough to delay the big endgame. They maybe thought it would be fun seeing her being played by someone else than Emily. But this legacy hunter Natalie was just such an egomaniac. I love the actress who portrays her cause I know her from Suits and 911. I know she can play far better than this over-the-top ambitious and unsympathetic grifter. Anyway, I still cannot understand why they had to put up this side plot. Vctoria could have been fully occupied with mothering Margaux and caring for her unborn grandchild. Besides, this would have made her loss far more real. About Nolan and Louise. Can you see how adorable the two are? I just love how Louise is swept up by Nolan, and even though this marriage is an upfront, he seems to have fun with her as well. I really would have loved to see a little montage of them enjoying a trip to Italy. And I must admit whoever was responsible for Nolan and Louise did a better job than the other writers of side plots, 'cause I really was hooked by this little drama around the two. Okay, it is not new because this was always the problem with Emily's lovers besides Aidan of course. She could not be honest with them and her secrets stood between her and Daniel. And Nolan had the same problem with Patrick in season 3. Emily and her war against Vctoria stood between them. So they are not very original here. But I like the twist that Louise feels excluded and just wants to be part of the group. About Jack trying to tell Emily his feelings. This whole sequence made me feel so sorry for him. Like he says later himself, Jack has just the worst timing. In season 1, encouraged by Nolan, he made the first attempt, and Emily rejected him because she was with Daniel and could not risk her cover to be blown. Then when they first kissed, Fomanda did come back pregnant. In season 2 and 3, Aidan was in the picture and Jack could not compete. And again he is too late cause Emily has a new guy, Ben. So this flashback and him gathering sea glass again just made me sad and angry that Emily is not at all thinking about his feelings. Another thing, I really like how they use fashion and colors to show us the different teams, cause I do not think it is a coincidence here that both Emily and Nolan are wearing white. I do not think that in the previous seasons that they had so many matching outfits. Sure, they had Memorial Day and this tea party when Vctoria and Charlotte were wearing the same color. But here Emily and Nolan look like twins fashion-wise. About Natalie and David. Like I said, this was the worst that she goes after David as well. Just with that silly excuse that she is some kind obsessed with the Grayson name. And that Vctoria is saving David from her in the end just shows how badly and unformed this plot has been written. The only thing I like here is the idea with the boat. 'Cause this really connects David and Jack. About Jack and Margaux. I must admit I am a little torn with this. At first watching it, for me this was a good idea of Jack trying to smooth things by talking to Margaux as a friend. From the beginning he was always the most loyal and decent character in the show. I know some might think this makes him the most boring and dull character. But since Fomander died in season 2 he definitely changed. First his anger was spiraling out of the control to the point that he actually wanted to kill the Graysons. Which is a huge change in his mindset considering the kind and considerate Jack from season 1. Who never took any risks before he met Fomander. And in season 3 he got more and more involved in Emily's revenge agenda until he got a little shady. Helping her with Charlotte's abduction and not telling the police anything about it. And of course lying to Charlotte, who seems to be some kind of a little sister to him after Declan died. Anyway, I did not like how this scene turned out. I mean, superficially it is fun that Carl got his first revenge mission and Margaux is that elegantly fooled by the three. Now that Aidan is dead, they try to establish Jack as some kind of a surrogate, at least for Emily's revenge game. But it seems not to fit for his core character. I know here is much at stake for him, cause going to prison for this, even if it is just for a limited time, would make him lose Carl. So he has to do something. But this sweet talk and deceiving his former girlfriend like this feels just not right. Emily and Nolan would do something like that, no question, but Jack always seemed to be too good for such games. From Margaux's perspective it makes sense going after Jack, not only because he is so tight attached to Emily. He makes just a good target because he is not that skilled in this revenge game as Emily is. So he is some kind of a soft target before Margaux goes after the real big enemy. Like I said, I can understand her. She just lost the love of her life. Even though Vctoria told her that Emily did not pull the trigger, she still blames her. And in a way she is right. If Emily had not set her revenge agenda in motion, Pascal would have not had to die. And Daniel would have not saved her if he did not know her and was still not that emotional attached to her after the divorce. He maybe would have reacted more reasonable and called the police instead of running into a dangerous situation without any backup. I mean, he had no gun or weapon of any kind. What was he thinking? About Nolan and Louise. Here comes my favorite part of this episode. Louise getting to know about Nolan's and Emily's little revenge club, like he called it in season 1. And her helping beating Margaux in her vendetta against Emily. I also like how honest they are talking here. If this would have stayed that way, they never had those problems later. I know we have to have some conflicts and problems, otherwise the show would be very dull. Like Downton Abbey, in which we see merely shadow conflicts that are solved in an instance. But I just love this unconventional pairing and wished they had never divorced. 'Cause like Aidan said to Emily, they belong together 'cause they fit. I love their conversation later when he tells her that he always felt like an outsider before Emily came around. And he now sees that Louise feels the same. This is just such a sweet idea that the 3 or 4, if you count Jack in, build this family of outsiders. I mean, who does not root for the underdog? Like I said, I love her humor that she is assuming Nolan has an affair with Emily, and stealing some of Nolan's one-liners was just perfect. Obviously, like I learned on the internet, many fans would have loved to see Nolan and Emily as a pair. Which is an interesting idea, but I see them more as siblings. So this pairing is a no-go for me. But suit yourself. Anyway, I like that she is immediately open to join. 'Cause she seems to be the perfect addition to the team. Crazy enough to not question their mission and smart enough to be a real help here. By the way, I love Nolan's white sweater. It looks so cozy and warm. And like I said, when Louise is a bit more modest like in this dress, they are a real fashionable couple. About Emily's break-in. This scene was pretty much ridiculous. I do not know what they are trying here. Should this be some kind of tribute to Mission Impossible? The only thing I liked was this little funny game with Louise. Like I said, she and Nolan bringing the fun in such situations just saves some really crappy scenes. And did she really just break in to brag before Margaux? This little chat with Emily telling Margaux she is better was fun but also uncomfortable to watch. I mean, yeah, after 3 seasons fighting against the Graysons and all her training before, Emily is better than Margaux in this. But first, she is learning fast, and second, she fights not fair cause she is aiming at everyone else besides Emily. So she has to protect her loved ones and fight back. And second, this quote just shows how insensitive and arrogant. I know this should show how Margaux as the new underdog is willing to do anything to bring Emily down. Very much like Emily did all those years during her Revengender. But in some kind it also brings Emily's character back to where she started at the beginning of season 1. Being an unkind, very isolated and smart, but insolent woman who despises almost everyone around her. So as much as I would agree that Emily is just better than Margaux in this, I really felt uncomfortable seeing her talking like Vctoria did when she was threatening Emily in the last episode of season 2. Like I said, they are doing a great job in trying to reverse the roles, and I think they could have even gone much further here. But that would have mean making our heroine bad again. Which is no good idea when we are heading to the show's finale and they want a happy ending. I mean, sure, they could have shown her worst character traits again and end the show on a sour note with her death being the ultimate punishment for her sins during her Revengender. That would have been brave, but I think the fans would have not enjoyed it. I would definitely not, cause they would have only punished Jack and David, who lost Amanda again. Another thing, I like that we see in the next episode that Jack is her weak spot. Not only because they are finally going slowly into this direction, bringing Emily and Jack together. This is also most true, cause since the beginning her feelings for Jack and Daniel were her weak spots. Takeda saw this and warned her about it, cause this could destroy her revenge plans. And Nolan used it by trying to bring the two together in season 1. By the way, it is also true to the original story, cause his feelings for his former fiancé made Edmond Dantes reconsider his revenge. About Margaux's outburst. In this, she really feels like Emily from season 1. Her rage about Emily and her deeds are on full display. I think they were really clever in this second half, making Margaux the big bad until Vctoria was ready to join in. This Malcolm Black dude was just a temporarily solution. But this because it is so personal, and we have seen how Margaux changed from season 3 to this very vicious and unforgiving woman is just brilliant. Her character development was one of the best things from season 4. Cause like I said multiple times in this show, we have the women to be this intriguing and very complex characters. First of all, our leading ladies Vctoria and Emily, who were since the beginning waver between good and bad, an innocent victim and a guilty criminal. Now Margaux walks this fine line. Spoiler alert. Especially after she lost her child. We feel compassion for her loss and can understand why she is choosing revenge and anger to cope with it. But we also despise her actions and question her morals. About Nolan's apology. This scene was just so sweet, and I must admit it was the first time I really felt literally in love with Nolan. And not only because of this beautiful sweater and his good-looking butt that Louise referred to twice. He looks really dashing in this episode, and I never noticed how sexy he really is. And this downfall and him speaking Italian just perfect. Like Louise later says, he really looks like a knight in armor for her. about Louise's brother working for Vctoria. This was fun to watch and a nice distraction from the fact that till Vctoria resumes her vendetta against Emily she has nothing to do. Like I said, it would have been better if she focused on Margaux and helping her settle in with her grandchild to be born. I know Vctoria never seemed like a motherly and caring character in the show, but she always boasted she would do anything for her children. And especially for Daniel, so being part of the life of his grandchild must have been her first priority. This whole legacy hunter plot was just a distraction from both. Spoiler alert. But his shady work for Vctoria and later Margaux makes it easier to stomach that he is killed off later by his sister. Even though this was an accident, it has pretty much hard for Louise being responsible for the death of her only brother. About Emily saying no to Jack. Besides Aidan's death in season 3, I think this was the most sad scene to watch. Like a car accident that happens right before you and you cannot do anything to stop it. I felt so sorry for Jack because this is already his second try. The first one in season 1 was nice, but here he talks free from the heart, and I love his quote about life being messy but you have to find a way. 'Cause that it is. A relationship or a marriage is not always easy and you are not happy ever after like in a fairy tale. You have to work for it, and Emily seems not to be ready to do this. I mean, with Aidan she accepted that they have no easy relationship. But I think with Jack she is very much like him, trapped in this fairy tale vision of their childhood memories. And she is just afraid to give in into her feelings. Like I said in a previous episode, one thing here are two things involved. First, her thinking that after all she has done she does not deserve her to be happy, and especially not with Jack. Because she had done all those terrible things to him and in some kind does not deserve him. Which she literally tells Nolan in one of the last episodes. But for me there is more to the story. Because this is what kept her from being with Jack after Fomander died. After Aidan's death I think she also feels that she would betray him. 'Cause he was supposed to be her soulmate and the happy end after her revenge ender was over. Jack got out of the picture since he came back, and she feels that she would in some kind betray his memory. Anyway, as she was saying no here and he told her he would not wait for her to change her mind, I really thought it was over. And in a way for him it would have been the right decision. Since she never gave him really mixed signals like in all these rom-coms most women, me included, love that much. I mean, she cares for him clearly, otherwise she would not have protected him this long and denied herself of telling him the truth about her identity as long as he was happy with Fomander. Yet I doubt that her feelings for him are as strong as his love for her. She truly loved Aidan, and in season 1 she fell in love for Daniel. Of course, because she was spending so much time with both men. You cannot say that about her and Jack. They had not that much scenes together throughout the whole show. And after Fomander's death they are mostly fighting. Which makes it always hard for me to get enough clips for my romantic Emily and Jack videos. Anyway, I think she likes the fantasy of them being together, and so unconsciously might also be afraid of destroying this perfect vision she and him are having of their childhood love and a possible romance in the future. So if there had been a 5th season, one would have liked to see how their relationship would stand the test of time. And if her feelings for him would really grow that strong as Jack's feelings have been all those years.